till the day I die.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Sneha, and you're on episode 9 of The Mindful Tangent. That was not 9. This is 9. I don't know the fingers. After 10, I don't have to put up my hands anymore. My week was good. I know I'm pretty much expanding technically last week before, but we did, not this past week, but the week before, watched Money Mill Boys. Something else is a little bit different on the camera. It is my stand. As you remember, or maybe you guys don't, my actual mic was held on by a shoebox. It was just standing up here, and you guys saw me go like this. But for my birthday, my husband Tony got me a mic stand that actually attaches to the table, to the dinner table. And I'm able to move it. Like, look, I can go like, woo, goodbye, woo, like this. And I can just leave it there, and obviously we can still eat, and it's not a hassle. Also, the other really fantastic thing is my laptop is right here, okay? And I always look at my laptop, like when you guys see me reading, I'm looking there. And before, I'm just like over here like this, trying to figure it out. The audio's good. This is great. Super excited for the new setup. I feel like it's not new, but new. Something's on with the light. So if I look a little bit different, so if it's a little bit darker, we don't know what changed. Unless it's this blue sweater, which I guess makes sense. It's just adjusting, but it's just funny that just a sweater makes me look different. But yeah, as you can tell, the title here, or if you're just listening and if you're reading the title on your screen, it says things are not what you think it may be, or things are not what it seems. I think it's a movie title too also. But what that means is that this week there's been a few things that have happened and out there in the world and also in movie world that makes you think not everything is exactly what you think it is. So let's first start off. So 2 weekends ago, so the weekend of my birthday actually, we went to go watch Money Mill Boys. If you don't know what Money Mill Boys is, I would highly recommend you watch it. I don't know, probably now they may release it online, but it was out in theaters for anyone to watch, and it was a great movie. I'm about to ruin this movie, so if you haven't watched it, maybe close your ears, or, I feel like you can still watch it. And I watched the trailer too, just in case, because I wanted to know, how much of the movie I was really spoiling. I'm not really spoiling much-ish. The actual movie, it's obviously about perseverance and friendship and all that stuff. Perseverance and friendship. So it's not bad, but it's a good movie. But just to give a high level, not really high level, very detailed summary, is that pretty much a group of friends decided, okay, let's go on a trip, right? And they decide to travel, and they go to Tamil Nadu. They're from Kerala. And they decide, okay, let's go to the Guna Caves, right? And the thing about the Guna Caves is that it is, and I'll show pictures somewhere here, but what the thing is here is that when they went, and this in real life took place several years ago, is that this area is, of course, it's open for tourists and for people to see, but other than that, what was important is that there is a specific portion, the actual Guna Caves is blocked out. Okay? And the reason why they go to those caves in the first place is because one of their friends is like, oh, I went to Guna Caves. We should go there. It's a great place. La da 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 da. And they locked it up. They said no crossing, no nothing. No one can go through these gates, right? Of course, them being them, it's no, we should still go. We should still go in the area, even though everything is telling us do not go. Somehow they find themselves, there's a tree with lots of roots. They climb up that tree and they get on the other side. And I'm just and the main reason too, keep in mind, the reason why they went is because according to that movie, someone else, a group of friends just came. So then it's just even more oh, there's nothing wrong. Nothing's going to go wrong. And of course, the whole portion of this movie is things going wrong. And of course, it's a little bit distance and there's the cave itself, right? And, it's a cave, right? And of course, the whole premise of this movie is the friend falling into the hole. And, the friends either saving their friend or not saving their friend. And if perseverance and the friendship and how much they've built that relationship will actually be tested and truly tested of if they will get this friend out alive or unfortunately will he pass away. And spoiler, all the people are alive in real life still, if that helps. But it's a very good movie. Like when I say it's a very good movie, I like it. And the fact that it's real too, I liked it. It makes it a little bit more extra, meaning like, oh, people actually went through this. And the thing is, one controversial point that people brought up was that, yes, it's like a wow, they're all friends, and then, they did the right thing and protected their friend and all that stuff. But the big criticism that I've heard some people say about the like actual Money Mill Boys and like the movie, or I guess the storyline itself, is that the friends themselves got themselves into this trouble so that they themselves should be getting themselves out. It's not like a heroic thing where it's like, oh, some freak accident happened and then they're helping their friend. It's kind of a situation like you put yourself in that situation and now you're just trying to get yourself out of it, right? I know what they mean in the sense of, yes, they put themselves in a situation, but at the same time, that's not true though. Like, okay. What I mean is they put themselves in that situation, but that still doesn't test, oh, well, my friends have my back. Do you know what I mean? The whole point of the movie is the perseverance, the friendship bond. You know what I mean? It's not about, oh, making a mistake and then, cleaning up your mistake. Because let's be honest, like if that situation happened to some people, maybe their friends will be like, oh, they're dead. I'm not like, okay, 5 minutes or 10 minutes maybe. And then, or you know what I mean? There's a certain period of time. The whole point of this movie is that like they're there for hours and hours and hours and like suffering themselves to help this friend. And I feel like that's a huge thing. Now, my biggest pet peeve about this movie, and I don't know, what am I trying to say? I don't know if it's in the movie, if it was real. Like, obviously, that's a point of view from all the boys or the Money Mill Boys, or if it's just an added on drama into the movie, But one thing for sure is if it's real, oh, that's just messed up. What I'm talking about, do you guys know what I'm talking about if you watch the movie? Maybe you know, maybe you don't. I'm talking about the police. I was shocked, okay? So obviously, we talked about the perseverance of the friends. They're all going out and like trying to get help, right? To get this friend out if he's alive, to even figure out if he's alive. And what happens is the local people, one person comes to like help and see what the situation is, but spiritually, people do believe this is like the devil's cave. So they're just like, oh, no one's going to come and help you, which is fine. But fine me, like that's a spirituality belief. But then that's what the police is there for, right? Explain to me. These people go into the police station and they tell one police officer what happened. And then that police officer was like, what? What did you guys do? And then he calls his superior, which is the main boss in this like station. And he just starts beating these people. I'm not kidding you. He just starts beating all these guys. And I'm just like, when I tell you I was so confused, I was so confused because think about it. I think there was an episode of this. Do you guys remember that lady that's a ghost whisperer and she saw the dead people? Oh, what's her name? If I find her, I'll put a picture like right here. There was an episode. It's not about the ghost whisperer. She's on another show and it's about 911 calls. And it's about this lady, like this amachi or this grandma lady or old lady. And she pretty much is like, someone's like, I'm having a heart attack. Like they're like struggling. The lady's like, I can't hear you. If you can't say it clearly, sir, I'm gonna have to cut the call on you. And she just cuts the call. And it's like, it's exactly that situation. It's like someone's in an emergency, right? But in this situation, I get it. They made the foolish mistake. But wouldn't that be something you would want to maybe criticize them later on? Not in that moment. Like if they have an inkling that their friend may be alive, wouldn't you want to go help them? But the amount of like energy that they portray that the police was giving, and if it's real, that is crazy, yo. Like to tell me that these people got beat with a stick, right? It's like, are you stupid? Pow, 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 pow. And then they put them in a corner sitting on the floor for a while. And the thing is, in this movie, we don't know how long they were staying there for, right? Maybe, let's just say it's an hour minimum. That could be life or death for somebody. You know what I mean? And in this movie too, what the huge thing was, it was raining for a good chunk of it. So those things make a huge difference in terms of time and life and death. And then part of this whole police story is finally he's like, oh, okay, fine, I'll send somebody with you. They really still did not care about the situation. And the police officer was more worried about getting a peg of like alcohol. And they were just like, what? And they're just like, don't we need to get a rope? Common sense to get the kid out. And he's like, oh, don't worry about that. We'll get that on the way. And I'm just like, what? And it's just like the amount of care. And then finally, when you get to the place and maybe some situations happen, they call the firefighters, from what my understanding is. And another firefighter is like, or police or chief person is like, oh, don't worry, you just do your protocol stuff, but you don't have to go down the hole. And eventually somehow like all these people like all of a sudden like, oh yeah, we'll help you. But something tells me like in my gut that these people, maybe some of it maybe for the movie, but like a large, I could believe the beating portion, but the firefighter portion, maybe. Because I'm going on to my second pet peeve of this movie. Or this movie, or this whole story, or this whole thing about Guna Caves. Explain to me. And this is the whole situation with the firefighter and everyone that came in. They're explaining to these kids that, like 17 people have already died at this place. I think it's 17. I know it's above 10. And they're just like, oh, even the minister's son went in this hole and we couldn't help him. And like they had so many people, blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, what? And the reason why I'm saying what is, it's the exact hole. It's not like, oh, there's so many like holes into the ground and then like, oh, you have to block everything. It's a lot of work. No, it's just one hole, right? And you would think that if that many people fell into it, that there would be some barricade to cover people. Because in the movie, throughout the movie, you will see that there are these barricades, right? One to prevent, obviously there's a gate, but like a barricade for people to walk on. Kind of like, like those things where it's like, if you look down and it's like a really steep hill, but literally what's holding you is that barricade or like that stepping thing. I don't know how to call it. Like if you go to New York City and there's like these bar grills on the floor and then like literally if that breaks, you're going straight into the subway maybe. That's what I'm talking about. I don't know how to explain any further, but those were throughout this like tourist area. Even they had to jump over one to get to the Guna Caves. And I'm just over here just like, so y'all couldn't think about like when all those other people died to put that on the floor? And honestly, at the end of the movie, they finally put that thing on the floor. And I'm just like, wow, good. You decided after the 18th person. But that was funny. But that also goes back to like this point of, I don't know what it is. I mean, in this movie, from my assumption, these people are in their 20s. They're not like young little teenagers or anything like that. But I don't understand why people do things like that. And maybe I'm just like, just don't think like that. I don't know. Like in my bones at that age, like I didn't think about like those kind of situations. Like I could see like people being like, oh, don't take another scoop of ice cream. And then you take an extra scoop of ice cream. You know what I mean? It's like, those things are harmless. Like there's harmless things that are stupid. And then there's things that are like, there is a reason why these people are giving you warnings not to do something or to go somewhere. It's for your safety. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, goes back to our point before of like, did they really were heroes, or was it a situation of like, they're just kind of protecting what they made a mistake on before? If you don't know, there's something called Maraman Convention. It's pretty much this really, really very large convention for Christians that happens in Kerala in Maraman. Fun fact. But pretty much it's like, they're sharing the word of God at this convention with various speakers. I always know about like the time where new songs release, Maraman convention songs and all that stuff. During this time, if you don't know, there was this really good drone video. I remember, I think it was from last year. I think they did another one this year, but there's a video and this pretty much is like a field and there is a river near it. And the thing is with these rivers is that this is happening February time. So obviously like India's hot, okay? And a lot of people, when I tell you a lot of people travel from around, it's not like even locally, around the world, okay? We got people from Europe, America, all parts of Asia, you know what I mean, coming to this particular convention. And thing is, at this time, and this was last year, I believe, something similar happened, not Laguna Caves and someone fell in a hole, but what happened were everyone was warning, like the news, I believe, and even the bishop had made an announcement like, hey, do not go into the river. It is very dangerous, right? And the reason why they said it is because for safety. Because a lot of the times, if you didn't know, I think I learned this in like science class a long time ago, but it's really scary if I think about it, is that if you're looking at a river, right, and the river is going like really, really slow, you're thinking it's going really, really slow like this, but sometimes what happens is under the river there's something called an undercurrent, and that current is going like whoosh, 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 and like going really, really fast. And if you were to step into that water, the current will sweep you away, right? Because it's so strong. But the thing is, what you're seeing up top is like not an illusion, but it's a different flow. So you're thinking, oh, it's fine. I can go jump in there. I can go jump and swim or fish or whatever I need to do. But really, that's not true. And there were several warnings about this. And unfortunately, like kids had gone in, I believe, to like swim or shower. And they were not from that area. They came specifically for the convention. And unfortunately, 2 of them, I believe, passed away. And I believe they were brothers, if I remember correctly. This goes back, and unfortunately, like for that family, they're suffering, right? This is the importance of listening to people. If anything, like if you gotta teach your children something, is okay, you don't have to listen to anything anyone says, but if they say it's a safety precaution, listen to them. Because I know some kids want to be rebels, some kids just want to have fun. There will always be, not always, but sometimes some kids will have a friend, or maybe they both are, or everyone is. They're going to have friends. They're like, oh, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this stupid thing, let's do that stupid thing. But you should always have your kid be an independent person and have independent thoughts, but then also think, what are the pros and cons and what could go wrong? You know what I mean? And in these situations, and same thing with the Manuel boys, you know what I mean? It's like, obviously they're much older. The Manuel boys are 20s, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what they were thinking, honestly. Like, at least if you're younger, like these children is different, you know what I mean? Your thinking is not the same as when you're older, but it's kind of just like, oh, we want to have fun. Fun is not danger, okay? You can have fun other ways, but there are reasons that people put signs, people give announcements and all that stuff. And you may think exactly as we're talking about. It seems good, right? But everything is not what it seems, right? So safety is number one priority. We live in a world, I feel, that like when teachers say one thing, I feel personally, I've seen like more videos of students just like talking back to them. And I get it, like when sometimes maybe teachers don't say the right thing, maybe sometimes teachers or substitute teachers, for instance, maybe aren't the right people, right? But it's also using logical sense in what you're saying and pretty much thinking like, is this person saying this for the goodness of me or just like taunting me? Am I trying to just show off with my friends, or should I be doing the right thing? Because obviously there is a huge thing with like friends and influence, and I get it. It's totally fine. There's not a single person that doesn't get influenced by their friend, or you don't influence your friends. You know what I mean? But it's in those moments where it's like, is this the right thing? And you should be also thinking of your friends too in safety situations. Or you're going to be like Manuel boys and having to do like some magic. I'm just kidding. There's no magic in the whole show. Yeah, so I wanted to first talk about that topic of the Manuel boys. Great movie once again. Very good movie. Another topic about something may not seem as it is. If you guys do or do not know, do you guys know what I'm talking about? You may know. It is Kate Middleton, and this is Princess Kate, and this is Prince William's wife. Also, if you don't know, Queen Elizabeth's grandson's wife. Yes. So, she had surgery, I don't know, a few months ago, and this is me summarizing. I am not the news, okay, by the way. I'm just like, I read and then regurgitate and then somehow translate it back. But pretty much she had abdominal surgery, right? And what happened was during this, I'm smiling, but I'm not like, this will all make sense. Like, I'm not really meaning like I'm not happy. It's just like, or think it's funny. It's just the situation and everyone in the situation chiming in is just funny. But pretty much in this entire thing, like I didn't even know she had abdominal surgery. And then why this whole thing blew up was because it was taking a much longer time for recovery. And what was happening was, I believe, like, they made these official announcements, Buckingham Palace, and they're like, oh, she's going to take an extensive leave. And usually, I believe they're paid by the government, I think. But, their main job is to, like, show face at events and do these, like, event stuff, you know what I mean? And they're representatives, if that makes sense. And so then, like, during the surgery, of course, you can't just, like, go do 500 events, right? And so then she takes a break. And the thing is, what weirds people out is that first point is that after every one of these people's births, these people are out in full high heels, fully dressed. They look absolutely amazing and holding the baby, like, you know what I mean, outside like this hospital. And I'm like, what? Why? And obviously that's their duty. That's something that they do just because they are very, I think, have strong relationships with the tabloids and all that, or the media, so they have to offer something in return. But I'm just like, what? Like, that's crazy. When I found out like they do it for every single time a child is born, I thought it was like days and days later, but no, it's like that same day. I was like, dang. Anyways, back to the point. So they have not seen her at all. Then all of a sudden, like, everyone is like, where's Kate? Where's Kate? Where's Kate? All of a sudden, suspiciously. And there's one lady, and I loved her TikTok, and I'll show you the picture that she had. But what pretty much was happening was, first, there's a car picture. And this picture is like, everyone's like, that's not Kate. And I saw the picture, and I was just like, that looks like that lady. I don't know what everyone's talking about. Then there's another photo that comes out. And this one is with the children and Kate. And this one, it's like photoshopped. And when I say photoshopped, like, you can see that, like, for instance, Kate's hand on this holding this child is off with the texture, or like the, of the kid itself. And then same thing with this hand. Like, it looked like it was pieced together. That thing also, once again, I didn't find that suspicious, because I've seen moms do that, where it's like, for instance, especially if you have 3 kids, one person may be crying there, one person may be smiling here, the other one maybe a funny face. And then maybe, like, each instance is meaning each picture will have an actual smile from each kid. And maybe the mom is the only one consistently smiling. So you got to Photoshop, you know what I'm saying? And that I didn't find weird. And I was just like, okay, I mean, maybe it's a bad Photoshop, but still, it's good. Like, if you look at it, it's not horrible. Prince William is the one who took that picture and all that stuff. Jazzy good. Then it comes out that Kate took out her kids from school. And I'm thinking, that's kind of weird. To take out your kids from school, there must be something serious happening, or, something bad's happening. The thing is, at this point, people start going crazy. Okay? People really start going crazy. And when I say crazy, there was like an alleged affair that this Prince Williams had, and they were like, oh, this lady's pregnant. That lady's pregnant. So that must be his baby. And the thing is, like, everyone's just like, oh, that must be throwing off Kate, and Kate wants a divorce, and that's why she doesn't want, like, the kids to be at school. I'll be watching this and I'm like, yeah, I guess that's a good point, because, like, a lot of these kids get bullied, right? Like, kids are cruel, man. So if they just hear, especially if your parents are on the news all the time, people are making conspiracies, you're going to be a bullying target for sure. So I'm thinking, maybe this is right, or something's happening in the family that the mom was thinking, nah, we don't want my kids at school. What ends up happening is another photo gets released. And this lady, it's a video of allegedly Princess Kate and Prince William walking, like, from the grocery store or something, or they're walking out from something. And that was when I was like, oh, now I'm starting to believe these picture questions. The reason why is because that did not look like Kate. And I'm like, once again, this is when I fell in deep, because I'm like, oh, maybe these conspiracies are really true. Maybe something's up, or like some, like, even conspiracy of like Princess Diana. If you guys don't remember, or if you do remember, people alleged that it wasn't an accident that she died, and it was on purpose. So people think that she got switched or something. I'm like, damn, these, like, I'm thinking not just the cheating thing. I'm thinking like the even more like they switched her and they killed her. Guess what happened? She had cancer, and she found out she had cancer after her abdominal surgery. And everyone, when I tell you everyone, and the thing is, there's something else interesting, but she was like, everyone, when I tell you everyone, so many people were like, on social media, and especially like influencers and all that stuff, because everyone's like feeding in, meaning even if you watch these videos, it's like you're just like, oh, maybe that is true. Like, it starts getting to a point you're just like, maybe that is what's going on. You know what I mean? These are really good theories. And then everyone's just like, oh my gosh, I really thought all this stuff was happening. But really, because, the worst thing is when someone comes to you and being like, yeah, none of this, what you just thought guys theorized is true. I'm actually sick. It's like, damn. And then it's like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense why the kids aren't in school. You know what I mean? You want to have that moment with the kids. And you just like feel like, honestly, poop. Okay? I'm going to say the SHIT word, but poop. Because you're just like, oh my God, I thought about all these things and it's really not that, right? And thing is, like, these people are really good at their jobs. Like being these like influencer people that like came up with the theories and all that stuff, because like it really does. But then I'm like also thinking, it's like, well, I guess that's like everything in life, right? Now, obviously, these people are on TV. These people are in the news. Like their lives, that royal family's lives are just pretty much broadcasted out to the world, right? So there's a lot more scrutiny and a lot more things of like what is shared and what's not. But I guess that also goes back to not everything is what it seems. And it goes back to like just our personal lives in general, right? There are people that don't think about anything, right? But then there are always going to be those nosy people that want to know what's going on in your life. And thing is, a lot of people are based off of pattern, meaning if you do X, Y, Z and you don't do Y for some reason, people are going to have an assumption. But I mean, I guess the opposite of that situation, this situation, is that what I've noticed is that people personally, a lot of them don't ask, right? If you notice something's off, right, about somebody or something, do you ever ask them and say like, hey, what's wrong? Or like, oh, is something going on, or X, Y, Z? Or do you say, you don't do this, you don't do that? And instead, do you take the time to ask why? Because aren't we all, like it says, like in a lot of these movies, right? People go through things and you see that like a lot of people don't ever ask them what's wrong and all that stuff, but we may see a change, right? But we never take the time. In this situation, obviously, a lot of people asked and inquired, but they needed their personal space, which is totally understandable, that like they need their time to process it and then announce it. But just in general, like in our personal lives, do we take time to understand where people are coming from when they're going through a hard time? Are we taking the time to ask somebody, how are they doing? What is wrong? Like, what's preventing you from doing the why, right? And what do you need help? And obviously there's things that we cannot help with, of course, but maybe it's that difference of just reaching out. And obviously, like, don't be judgmental either. Like, they may say something, it's like, oh, that's it. Don't do that. That's the worst thing you could do. But it's like being an outreach and being a friend and seeing what you can do. Then, did you guys watch it? Tell me. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's The Quiet on Set. I was trying to be quiet, but it didn't really work out. Anyways, the Quiet on Set series, it is 4 episodes, I believe. I don't know if they've increased the episodes. If they have, oh no. But I binge watched it. It's on HBO Max. I recommend you guys watch it too if you have HBO Max. If you do not, it's also on the Primes and Hulu, but I believe you have to pay for it to watch the series. But it is a series about, specifically in this, is about Nickelodeon and the things that were going on in Nickelodeon and on set from both Dan Schneider and then what happened from Drake and Josh, and everyone's experience of, like, whether it just be inequality in the workplace or just weird creepy behavior or just overall. And it's just crazy to think, right? Nickelodeon, when you think of Nickelodeon, and I remember all these shows. Like, I remember when they were reading Dan Schneider's all his shows, I was like, oh my gosh, I know every single one. Like, there's All That. Like, there's an All That Again, like with a different crew. If you guys don't remember, it's All That. That's where Keenan and Kel, I think, came from, right? Didn't Keenan and Kel come from that? Then there's Amanda Bynes. My mom did not let me watch Amanda Bynes. She was like, no, this, not saying in a mean way. I feel like I watched it. Like, when it came on, it was just there, and I was just like, okay, I'll watch it. But I remember one time my mom was just like, no, don't watch this anymore. Because you know how Amanda Bynes in the show was like very energetic and very like, there's no other nice way to say it. She was like pranti, like kind of like crazy, like, you know what I mean? Yes, it's funny, but my mom was like, no, that's weird. And I don't want you to do the same thing. And I was like, what? I don't get it. But then, of course, there's Drake and Josh, Zoe 101, Victorious, I believe. Yeah, Victorious, yeah. And I believe from there, Sam and Kat and things. These are all extensions. And I'll say, like, the thing was with the show is, right, especially us as kids, we're not thinking like, oh, these people may be going through a hard time. Something bad's going on set. Or they're going through a hard time. We're just like, what's we're seeing on the screen, right? Oh, they're making us laugh. It's a good time. Thinking about it, like seeing it now from the inside and like what everyone's view is now, it's just crazy. When I tell you crazy, that's just crazy. And it's horrible that people have to go through all this. And I don't know, I was not happy to hear about it because I was just like, these children had to go through so much. Also, Schneider, his shows had sexual innuendos. And thing is, thinking back, you know, when I'm a kid, at that age, when you're a kid, I feel like this also, by the way, is not just Dan Schneider's things. Like Cartoon Network, you know what I mean? Back in the day, cartoons, minus Disney Channel, I don't remember. But like all the other ones, there were inappropriate jokes and inappropriate like innuendos throughout the cartoons and everything that you would always catch on to. You know what I mean? As you're older, you're like, whoa, that's weird. But when you're a kid, you don't notice. You know what I mean? Because you're a kid, you're being innocent. But is it appropriate to have it on a kid show? I don't think so. It's weird. It's weird that these kids are all very, very young and their sexual innuendos and all that stuff. It's just like you're putting those kids in a creepy, creepy light and exposing them to very, very bad things. Unfortunately, on the show as well, there were sexual predators and offenders on the show. There was a situation of a man, and what he had done was he had actually sent explicit photos of himself to a young child, and I think it was multiple girls too, by the way. And this is what blew my mind. In one of the mothers that was involved in this situation was in this interview or this documentary. And pretty much what happened was this guy, he was a producer, or he was like pretty much an assistant, I think. A producer assistant, is that a thing? And his duty was take the children, the parents are here, right? And his job is take the children from here to there, to the set, pretty much. And thing is, like, he exchanged phone numbers and emails with parents and kids. And he started emailing this girl. And I think he's doing this with multiple girls. And he starts first saying like, oh, this is what I do. These are my like history. Keep in mind, this is not like some child, okay? This is like a college, beyond college kind of student, intern kind of thing. And, you know, this mother particularly was like, oh, the first one was like innocent and the daughter showed was out of excitement. And, you know, the daughter was excited. She's like, oh, I have a friend in the industry like that. Mom thought it was innocent. And obviously like every single time, like the daughter would go to the computer and, you know, read the emails and all that, respond. Finally, she gets this email. And she's like, what is this? And what happens allegedly from the mom, according to the mom, what had happened is that this girl opened the computer, turned it off, like completely off, and just ran to her room and shut the door. The mom asked, what's wrong? And then the daughter showed what the guy sent. It was just a complete nude picture of him waiting and saying like, I'm thinking of you, to a child. Okay. And this is what blew my mind and got me very, very angry, was that this mother was like, oh, I wanted to call the police, but I didn't want people to think of me as a bad mom. What? I'm sorry. And I mean, I'll give it to her. Like, she admitted to her mistake. She went on live and now she's getting scrutinized, right? Like, she's getting scrutinized. Like, she put herself out there on this documentary saying like what she did was wrong. But I'm just like, how could you think like that? I don't know, maybe like, I feel like everyone's instinct should be like, it doesn't matter. Like, you can't control your kids. You cannot, first of all, you 1000% cannot control what other people send, right? And that's the thing about the internet too, right? You cannot control what they send, you getting spam emails, nothing. That's not your fault. But the fact that her first thought was, oh, how does this affect me? Not my child. And I'm like, and so what happened was she did not file anything to the police or nothing. She's like, oh, I don't want like my child to be like ruined and all that stuff. And the fact that she didn't want to look like a bad mom. I was like, you doing, not saying anything is making you a bad mom. And then 2 was the whole portion of like ruining her like career. That portion I could maybe agree with, in the sense of, unfortunately, I feel that people, especially during that time, but even still now, is like, if you do say something, it's like people don't want to work with you anymore, which is messed up if you really think about it. It's like, so you're saying that you don't want to work with me because I actually, reported something that was illegal and was not appropriate at all. But I get that. But at the same time, your daughter's safety is number one. And what's the crazy portion is that this lady, her mom was like some legal person that worked with people in Hollywood. And she told her, do not get into Hollywood. And she kind of ignored her mom. And I'm just like, your mommy was not wrong. But anyways, there was that. And then, of course, it gets to Drake Bell. And people knew about this particular lawsuit or this criminal case, but people didn't know who the child actor was. And finally, they find out it's Drake from Drake and Josh. If you don't remember who that is, it's Drake. And what happened was, this man Brian Peck, had like manipulated his family. The thing was, the dad, smart man, okay? Drake's dad, smart man. Unfortunately, people got manipulated and kicked you out. But pretty much the dad knew this guy was creepy from day one. And pretty much this guy knew this man named Brian Peck, not related to Josh Peck, by the way. But Brian Peck, he knew that the dad knew that he was creepy, and pretty much got it where he manipulated the mom and Drake and like pretty much kicked out the dad from the whole equation. And I'm like, wow. And he got the opportunity, of course, to be alone with Drake, and then, unfortunately assaulted him. And thing is, what's crazy is that this dude, Drake and Josh was a famous show, right? That Brian Peck man was trying to get Drake to influence like the Dan Schneider and everyone for that guy to be the dad. Oh my God, imagine he was the dad. Disgusting. The whole idea of like, not everything is what it seems, is not just in the fact that, oh, okay, we are outsiders. We are watching TV. We are just watching the screen and watching the act. We don't know what's going on, right? And what the, unfortunately, things that are going horribly with child actors or even just old adult actors and all that stuff, right? But what's crazy to me is that there was a point in this whole situation that they asked the judge to release all the letters of support, right, for this documentary, or I think they just requested it. And they started listing out people's names that were coming in to support him. And first of all, I don't know what story they heard from this Brian Peck, because he was like a language coach also. Like, he was a coach for acting. So all these people, I guess, worked with him before, and he was having like celebrities come in. And if you watch the documentary, I'll show you who those people were. But my mind was blown. The language in these letters, pretty much these letters are pretty much to tell the judge like, hey, why it wouldn't be him, and kind of like influence the judge of like why it wouldn't. It's like more support, like, oh, this guy wouldn't do it. Literally, you know what these letters were? I'm curious to know what these people were told. And the fact that if they were told the truth, disgusting. Okay? Disgusting meaning like they would be like, oh, he would never do such a thing. Or it's like, oh, it's just a lapse in judgment. What do you mean lapse in judgment? I'm not understanding what you're telling somebody. Are you stupid? And I was just like, what is going on? What is wrong with people? And it's like, oh, if that was your child, would you think that's a lapse in judgment all of a sudden? And the fact that all these people were supporting him, saying like, oh, he would never do something like that. And some people were victim blaming, even women. And I think some of the women actresses, or like one of them, I believe, in the documentary, one of them released a statement and saying like, hey, I did not know that this was the gravity of the situation at that time. Like, they were told something else, and obviously she does not support this man or Brian Peck. And so then I was just like, okay, that's fine, but like, I want to know what everyone was told, because obviously some people stayed quiet, and some people go proactively being like, hey, I did not know all this stuff. But it's hard because it's like, we don't know what they were told. And like, because obviously I'm assuming lawyers send a letter saying that this is a situation, or maybe he personally reached out to all these hundreds of people. But it's just crazy. And according to Drake, what had happened, I was going to say Drake, what had happened was when he went to court for this, there were like all like, think about the bench behind like the area you're supposed to stand. All the area that was like to support Brian, it was filled because all these people thought that this guy was in the right. And I don't know what they were told, but I'm like, that in and of itself too is not what you see. Like, maybe you see this person at work. Maybe you're a grown adult. And thing is, it's like saying there's two different relationships, right? There's person A, person B, and person C. Person B is the person that's like the main person we're talking about. But person B treats person C excellent, amazing, right? But they treat person A, and keep in mind they're all hanging out all together, but it's just there's nothing to like, there's no influence, there's no backstory, right? But person B is treating person A horribly, right? For no reason, is treating them horribly. So then you're is it belittling? Demising? Nope, not demising. Belittling. I knew it was something of combination. But belittling that other person's experience just because you didn't experience it. Like, I get it. Like, yes, you can make a judgment on a person based on how they treat you, but that should not be your end judgment. Like, how I tell people is, and if you have or have not met me, I will not tell you how somebody is, like how they are, like if they're a bad person, if they're going to backstab you, or if they're a super nice person, nothing. I will not tell you at all. Because in my belief, because I learned in middle school, is that one person's judgment is not the truth, and one person's judgment may be just their experience. Because my thing is, maybe that person treated me horribly, but doesn't mean they'll treat you horribly, or maybe they'll treat me nicely, but they'll treat you horribly. So I'm like, always go to somebody with open eyes and like expect the unexpected, right? But if you haven't watched it already, go watch it. If you have any movie recommendations, please let me know, because I'm always wondering like what new movies I watched 2 thrillers actually recently. One is with Jairam and Mammootty, which was called, what is it called? Oh, so the Jairam film was Abraham Osler. That one, I like that one. I like that one a lot. The ending, I was just like, is there more? And we're like, wait, it's over? And I'm like, when is, and I literally, the next thing I Googled was, when is the second portion coming out? It's called Garudan. Also a good movie. These are all thriller movies, but if you guys have any recommendations, please let me know. I would really am curious. I want to watch movies, even if it's olden day movies, I'll watch those. But it's always fun to see, especially these thriller movies, and trying to like figure out what's the actual like ending of the story and all that stuff. I always find that exciting and new. But if you have any stories you want me to talk about, I know some people reach out to me like, oh, Sneha, talk about this. I'm like, yeah, I got it. Don't worry, I wrote it down on my list. And don't be afraid to, if you ever want to leave a suggestion in the comments down below, go ahead. Thank you so much for everyone who's already liked the videos. People have already started liking the videos. People have also subscribed to the channel. We're all the way up to, I believe, as of when I'm recording this, it's 15 people, which is really exciting. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers. So if you do have a YouTube account, go ahead and subscribe. And then also don't forget to like, as well as share with your friends and family members, or repost on your story if you want to. Like, go onto my Instagram reel and just quickly share it. No problem. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of, not everything is what it seems. Next week is episode 10. Officially, we in the double digits. But yeah, we're in episode 10. So let's see what there is for this week. I mean, it's Easter, so Jesus is rising up from the dead. I mean, that's good news too. Soon or eventually we'll have a guest come over and speak with us. But we shall see what's coming up in the future episodes. Thank you so much for watching The Mindful Tangent, and I'll see you next week. Bye!